All right, it is a real pleasure to bring to the Another Fishing Podcast stage Dustin Smith, this guy right here, who I have actually worked with a ton this year. It's been a real pleasure working with this dude on the Tackle Warehouse Invitationals. This guy was in the running for Rookie of the Year, Angler of the Year, and you're not gonna believe it, didn't even use forward-facing sonar once. We're talking to him. Let's do this.
This isn't another fishing podcast. This is another fishing podcast.
Am I right there? You did not use forward-facing sonar once this year in competition, Dustin?
Yeah, that would be an accurate statement. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that is okay. So this is kind of not this isn't the whole basis of this podcast, but I certainly feel it's very interesting that you did as well this year in the Tackle Warehouse Invitationals. Just basically, going old school. I'm just fishing shallow. I don't need the forward-facing sonar. In fact, everybody's got the newest trolling motors on there. You're like, I don't need the newest trolling motor either. We're just going with you have a Fortrex. Is that a Minn Kota Fortrex on there? Yeah. Is that even 36 volt?
It is a 36 volt. Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
All right.
It's an old one for sure.
Yeah. No. And I love it. You're just like old school, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to show that I can compete out here. And you also, and this is a big deal, and I talked to you a little bit, or I texted you a little bit yesterday about this, or a few days back, I guess now, that you qualified for the Bass Pro Tour, not using forward-facing sonar. I want to talk to you about this too, because we talked about, I don't know whether I can compete. I'm going to be this shallow guy. I'm not using forward-facing sonar. And I'm thinking, the guys that you're fishing against on the Tackle Warehouse Invitationals are some sticks, dude. I mean, let me tell you, I've shot a lot of tournaments, man. Real sticks on the Tackle Warehouse Invitationals. And the more I've been thinking about it, I'm like, dude, if you can swing it, you might surprise yourself. I'm just saying, if you can hang there, I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a big move. It excites me. It's funny how this whole season is shaking out. It's like the first tournament on Kissimmee. I was planning on just jackpotting it. It's like, I'm just going to fish this one tournament because I really like Kissimmee, and I had some free time at that for that tournament. And then it's like, we're at the end of the season, and I qualified for the Bass Pro Tour. And we're like, what just happened? I was planning on just fishing one tournament.
So let's kind of start from the beginning here. We'll get back to that, but okay, tell me first, who you are, like how you got into bass fishing, where you're at, number one, like where you live. Because when I first started working with you, I'm like, this guy, I'm detecting a Wisconsin accent, but you weren't living in Wisconsin. But yeah, tell me how you got started bass fishing, how you got started fishing the Tackle Warehouse Invitationals.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It's been a long journey. It's like when I was a kid, I grew up in Wisconsin, right outside of Milwaukee, in a place called Waukesha Wind Lake area. And my dad was really into fishing, but we fished for everything. Bass, walleyes, muskie, pike, everything. And I had a neighbor move into my house, or next to our house rather, and he had a bass boat. And we just had a Lund, and like nobody had bass boats in Wisconsin at this time. I'm like, whoa, like this guy's a professional bass fisherman. And like it really started escalating at that point, fishing in like the Bass Federation when I was a kid. And we grew up on a lake called Wind Lake. It's kind of in that southeastern portion of Wisconsin. And it was like, when we moved there, it was over. This is all I want to do is bass fish. So like in high school, like a lot of my friends were like, football and soccer and all that stuff. I'm like, that doesn't interest me at all. I want to bass fish, and that's it. And this is before like bass fishing was cool, like in high school and college and all that kind of stuff. Like,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. There was actually, I would go to a pond after school, and I was kind of like, candidly, I was a little bit embarrassed that I bass fished because none of my friends did. And I would take an alternate way so the buses didn't see me when I was riding on my bike with my fishing rods and stuff. But it was like, that's all I wanted to do. And it just escalated from there, fishing club level stuff, and then like BFLs, ABAs, Had some success doing that, and then got into a Toyota series, which was like, it might as well have been the Bassmaster Classic for me when I got into that tournament. And then I fished the MPFL for a few years, and then this is my first year, fishing Invitational. So it's been a super fun journey, but it all really started with my dad getting me into bass fishing.
So that's it's interesting you said that. When I asked you kind of last minute yesterday if were available to do a podcast, it looked like you were out fishing with your son yesterday. Is that what was going on?
Yep.
Yeah. Go ahead.
He's turning 7, and man, he's just turning into like a little fishing machine. And we kind of mix it up. Like we swim, we fish, we snorkel. We bring a ton of like snacks and stuff, and we just kind of make a day out of it. And I go with my daughter too, so it's super fun.
That's fantastic. I mean, that's the thing too. Years ago, I did these little they called them mini shows or vignettes for ESPN Outdoors, where they were just like 2-minute little video pieces where, it's just like little tips you could do like in a little 2-minute time span. And I did one on like how to take a kid fishing, and it's so important when you take your kids fishing, not to pressure them, not to be like force them to fish, let them explore, make it an adventure. It should be something that's enjoyable. By the way, I have like this summer cold that I'm just getting over. There's a lot of smoke in the air, so I'm like trying to figure out like thanks a lot Canada this summer for all the smoke you're bringing down here. And the summer before that, But, no, so I've got like this thing in my throat. So this is why I have like these tissues here. And so I'm starting to get over this thing. But yeah, it's like a smoke COVID. Smoke, maybe that's the new strain. I don't know. But, so, excuse me. I probably should have used the mute button for that. But no, so that's why just in case anybody's wondering if they're watching the video podcast. No, so it's like as far as taking kids fishing, it's super important, like to make an adventure. And how I got into fishing as a little kid, I actually just like catching animals, catching turtles, catching snakes, and then it evolved into, catching animals in the water, and fishing was a great way to do that. And then it just bloomed from there. So I think, let them just have a good time. Let it be a great experience. I think that's a perfect way to do it. So I commend you for that. And anytime I see that, it just like brings back memories, like really good memories of when I was a kid and my parents and my grandpa, taking me fishing. It's real good stuff. So, so I wanted, okay. So what makes you got into the Tackle Warehouse Invitationals, right? Mm-hmm. What were you thinking as far as like how were you thinking initially how well you do? Like, did you think that okay, have some experience in competition, but at that level were you like a little apprehensive? I don't know. Can I compete at this level? What were you kind of thinking?
Yeah, it's cool to fish against names and stuff that you recognize that you grew up watching like on TV and stuff. Like that's super exciting to me. And I didn't know how I was going to do. I felt like on Kissimmee. And I've gained a lot of confidence in my fishing ability, like let's say the last 4 years, like fishing with the NPFL with some really close calls for winning. But for the Invitational, like on Kissimmee, I kind of felt like I can probably compete with the majority of bass anglers out there, especially that time of year. And a cold front was sweeping through, and it's like cold front in Florida. That's exactly what I wanted. Because then it's like when that is happening, I have one thing in my mind, and I'm going to punch mats all day, every day. And it kind of lined up that way. So I was super thankful how the tournament shook out. And it was like one of those tournaments that, punching mats, you lose some fish and miss some fish. And it was like, man, it slipped through my fingers, that first tournament. So, but it was great. Super fun tournament. And I like the format they have too, as far as like the 1 day of no scope.
I agree.
I think it's probably the best format out there.
I
as
agree.
Far as how it's structured. Yeah.
I really think that Major League Fishing did a great job this year with handling. I'm getting tired of calling it forward-facing sonar, but you can't call it live sonar because that's hummingbirds, mega live. So everybody's like, well, we can't call it live, so we got to, no one calls it forward-facing sonar as far as Lowrance. It's all, they call it, what is it, Lowrance's? It's
I think it's live.
active target? No, it's active target.
Yeah.
So if they call it live, it's going to be like preference to hummingbird. So it's like, oh my God, we're stuck saying forward-facing sonar for eternity now, I guess.
Right.
I don't know. But gosh, I totally lost track of my thought. Where was I going here? See, it's early morning. This is probably the earliest podcast I've ever done, Dustin. Just so you know, I like it. I need to be more of an early riser, but that's what I'm blaming it. What were we talking about before I went on my rant of forward-facing sonar?
We're talking about Kissimmee and against those dudes.
Yeah. So, oh gosh, whatever. So forward-facing sonar. The fact that you're not. God darn it. Maybe I'll come back to it. I'm also approaching 50, so that's the other reason I'm giving, like my memory's going or something. I don't know.
Well, we're in the same boat then, because I'm approaching 40 in like 2 weeks. And
oh, my God. Everybody's so much younger than I am. It's disgusting. I'm sick of it. Look at you. You're a young buck, man. I remember approaching 40, and now I'm approaching 50. I'm like, how in the hell did this happen? But here we are. Okay, so, yeah, so, this is, I knew it'd come back. It takes about, I've noticed about 30 seconds, and it all comes back. So, yeah, Major League Fishing, I think they really did a great job with how they handled forward-facing sonar because, let's just say take the Bass Pro Tour. The fact that there's one period that they can use it, correct? On the Bass Pro Tour, I should know this. So one period that they can use it, 2 periods where it's not allowed. I've got that right. It's not opposite of that. It's not it's okay. So, and you don't want to me with bass fishing, there's one of the things that makes bass fishing so wonderful are all the techniques. Where I do a lot of walleye tournaments, and I love walleye fishing. I'm a multi-species guy. I love, just fishing in general, and I love competitive fishing. So I've always, even back in the day, I was interested in the professional walleye tour, or trail. I think it was trail. That was, In Fisherman started that. So I've always just loved the fishing competition. But the difference between walleye fishing in the past, the difference between walleye fishing and bass fishing is that in walleye tournaments, you were never going to have this amazing bass blow up, in a top water. Bass, there's so many different techniques that you can throw a buzz bait, you can throw a walking bait, you can, spinner bait. There's so many exciting ways to catch fish. Or to catch bass, but in walleye fishing, was much more, trolling was much more of a thing, and I would argue less exciting for the spectator to watch it. So with bass fishing, the great thing about bass fishing is you have all these opportunities for excitement, all these different ways to catch bass. What's worried me about forward-facing sonar is that, everybody's just out there just shaking a minnow, and so all the hard baits, all the different ways to catch them has gone by the wayside, and it's just like the jighead minnow now. That's all, and everybody's just looking down at their graph, and they're just shaking their rod. And I don't have a problem with that technique, but you can't let it destroy your sport so that it's so dominant that nothing else is happening. You have to protect the sport. Every sport protects itself. They know that they don't have anything if the fans aren't interested. If it's not something interesting to watch, and so they protect it. And fishing, I think, bass fishing knew that it had to do something, and I really think that Major League Fishing has done the best job with it. I love that, and there's great storylines there too. With, it's all about storylines in sports. So, you have some great storylines with, it can always be part of the storyline now. Like, oh, when is he going to, the Bass Pro Tour, when is he going to use his scope? What period is he going to use his scope? I think that's awesome. I think it's great. I commend the Bass Pro Tour a lot for that. And then, the thing with the Bass Pro Tour is you have the boat officials in there that can police it, right? That's a little bit different story on the Tackle Warehouse Invitationals. But I think how they handled it with, okay, it's a 3-day event. One day, you're just not allowed to use it. It's just forget about it. You can't use it. So it helps even the playing field. It makes the sport more interesting. And I think that was the right way to handle that. And I don't know what you think. I think it's a real feather in the cap for Major League Fishing, how they handled that.
Yeah, I think so too. Because I look at it from like a couple different standpoints. Is like, one, you got to draw the boats in for these tournaments to fill the field, and like a lot of people want to scope, which is great. That's fantastic. And then like on the other side, I kind of like it selfishly, is like during practice and tournament, like if the guys are scoping and trying to fish traditionally in practice, is like they don't really cover a ton of water, which means that there's a lot of areas that people don't fish. And it's like, versus I just fish traditionally, is like I can cover massive amounts of water in practice. And like I kind of just don't really fish by people anymore. And I feel like a lot of it is because of the format. Where if it was like no scope through the whole tournament, like let's say the NPFL, like I'd fish by a lot of boats. And it's like I kind of like don't like fishing by boats. So it's actually a great format for those two reasons, I think.
So go through your season this year, just just briefly, I guess, each tournament and how you did. Without it is remarkable. Like without forward-facing sonar, you're just a really talented shallow water angler. I've worked with you. Gosh, I worked with you a ton. The last tournament we were on the St. Lawrence, and it was just like, what the hell? I'm not working with you on the St. Lawrence. This is what's going on here,
Yeah.
But up until then, we had been working consistently together.
I know. It was like your tournament. It was crazy.
I mean, I actually just crapped off your boat too. I mean, I felt so comfortable. I don't like bowels. What's that? Well, hey man, we're just getting real here.
That did happen.
Yeah, it did happen. And the other thing I wanted to ask you about, we'll get back to let me write this down so I don't forget. We do need to get back to the whole tournament, your tournament season. But I did this kind of segues into this well. So, okay, so what is it like to, all of a sudden you've got like a cameraman in your boat, like you're competing, and now you've got this knucklehead that's like filming you, and you're like, okay, it's already pressure enough to be in a tournament, and now you got a guy that's like miking you, putting a mic on you, and then is like going to be filming you, and then could be taken away from you at any moment because you're not producing, So tell me, what's that? Talk about that pressure. What's that like? What was that like to have a knucklehead like me in the boat?
Yeah, it was. When I fish, like when I'm by myself, I talk to myself like the whole day. Or if there was like someone on show, they think I'm crazy or something because I'm just talking to myself.
Well, it's very natural, dude. Like everybody talks to themselves, by the way. I hear it, just so not to go on a rant here, but I hear it in my headphones all the time. If I have a boat official mic'd or I have an angler mic'd, people constantly talk to themselves. It's healthy. I do it too. Anyway.
Yeah, I feel like I can think more clearly if I'm talking versus like I'm thinking about scenarios like, should I stay? Should I go? Where should I go? What should I throw? And it's like, if I talk about that out loud, I feel like I make a better decision, as weird as that is. But yeah, having you in the boat was fantastic. I mean, you're great at what you do. So I feel like it was a great fit. Plus you're from Minnesota, which was pretty cool too. So it was a super fun year. And there was like a lot of memorable moments in tournaments like throughout the season, and you caught a couple of them too on camera, which is pretty special.
Yeah, I love the sport. I love fishing, specifically, competitive fishing, bass fishing. And so I I really enjoy the subject matter. I love being outside. So it's not, in some ways it's not like work. In some ways it is, but I love being on the water, so sometimes I'm like, gosh, I feel like there's just no better place for me to be, than so I love what I do, but go through what was that? Go through like your first tournament in the Tackle Warehouse Invitational. Were you planning on like were you planning on? Did you think that you would do this well this year? Did you think you'd do better? Like go through each tournament and just kind of give me your mindset through the season.
Yeah, the two tournaments that I was really worried about when the schedule came out was Pickwick and the St. Lawrence River. And it's like now at the end of the year when we can look at my performance, like both those tournaments I kind of sucked at. So all the other ones I felt really comfortable with as far as because the really key for like me catching them the way that I fish is like I have to be on the right body water within the right window as far as when they're going to bite. Like Pickwick for me is like a fantastic place to fish, except when they start pulling out to the ledges. Like that's not good. It's really hard to hang with those guys. And I knew it was going to be kind of around that time frame. But overall, the season went really good. Kissimmee is, we had a big cold front that swept through, and I found some really good fish punching and had a good tournament. And it was crazy on the last day. I'll never forget this. So where I was fishing, there was a bunch of hydrilla, and there was just a bald spot where there was no hydrilla. And I fished it in practice 2 days, and I never had a bite. And on the second day of the tournament, near the end of the day, a guide boat went over there. And I fished it day 1 and day 2 of the tournament, 0 bites. But at the end of day 2, a guide boat drifted over it, fishing with shiners. And their customer had on a giant. It was like a 10-pounder. And it jumped off right by the boat. I'm like, they're out there, dude. I know they are. And I started there on day 3, and I pull up, and I saw one blow up, and I'm throwing a spook, and it just, it didn't work out for whatever reason, but I lost so many giants on a spook on the morning of day 3 that I could have had like over a 30 sack, which would have been incredible. I just couldn't keep them hooked up on a spook. And then as fast as it was started, it was done. I mean, it lasted like 10 minutes that I could have just absolutely throttled them. Then it just didn't work out. But it was an incredible tournament. It was super fun. That's probably my favorite place to fish is Lake Kissimmee, which is
no kidding.
Maybe we'll talk about it later in the podcast, but like the schedule next year for the Invitational is like, man, it's kind of somewhat pulling me away potentially from the BPT.
Sorry, I just was coughing there. I used the mute button that time. Oh goodness. Okay, well, no, so I guess let's talk about the BPT. So tell me first, okay? Just you don't have to go into every intimate detail here, but tell me your personal situation, like where you work. You own a business, if I'm not mistaken. What is that business? Are you like how seriously are you considering accepting that invitation? Like when do you have to tell them like you're going to do it?
I don't know. I don't know. So I'm assuming it's not for a while. But yes, I do have a business, Bolt Smith Packaging, the sign behind me here. And we have team of packaging engineers. And what we do, not to be too long-winded with it, but companies that have packaging problems like damage during shipping, they want to reduce their costs, whatever the case may be. And it could be a shower door, it could be a Mercury engine. The product is irrelevant, but we'll redesign their packaging. So the cool thing about it is it allows me to kind of have a little bit of freedom as far as time. I have a fantastic business partner, John Bolt, and then just a team of really good guys that handle a lot of the projects kind of when I'm out gallivanting around on projects. So I'm super thankful for that because without that, I couldn't do any of this.
Yeah, got it. So now you're, so obviously you have kids, you got a family life. How does your family feel about the prospects of you potentially fishing the Bass Pro Tour?
Yeah, we have 2 little kids, my wife and I. We have one that's just under 7 and one that's just under 4, and they're super fun. I love those guys so much. And my wife is it's cool, is like as passionate as I am and as we are about bass fishing and fishing in general, is that's how she is about long distance running. So like she runs crazy distances. I mean, marathons are like nothing for her. She'll run 50, 70, 100 plus miles. She's an absolute beast. So she gets like the competitive mindset and what that means. And it's like, when I think about the BPT, Like, I would love the opportunity to fish against what is debatably some of the best anglers in the world in a very small group of anglers, where it's like everyone there can catch them. And it's like, I would love that opportunity to compete against those guys. But I don't know what I'm going to do yet. Candidly, is like the BPT. It's super exciting to watch on live. Like the tournament that happened this year with, was it Jake Lawrence and Wheeler?
Yeah. It's
Like,
amazing.
it doesn't get better. Like, that was just incredible.
Agreed.
Yeah. But some of the lakes and stuff, like, I don't know how I feel about it with the guys having scope even for just one period. Like Gunnersville, mid-January, the fish are going to be suspended in the main river and creek channels and stuff. Like, they're going to throttle them with every fish you can catch with scope, even just one period. Like, I don't know if I can catch them fishing shallow, even with one period of scope. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I have to think about it. I want to see the format and confirm that it is every fish you can catch versus 5 fish. Because if it's 5 fish, I'm in. Let's do it. And see the entry fees, payouts, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Would you even ever consider, using, forward-facing sonar at all? Like,
yeah, I had it. After Scott, I think it was Scott Martin, won that Bassmaster Open on Okeechobee, and he was catching them off the bed with scope. I'm like, I got to get it. If they're catching them this shallow with scope, I have to get it. And I had it for 2 tournaments in the NPFL. One was actually on Lake Hartwell. And I had like a very defining moment after that tournament. Like, I'm done, dude. I'm not having it anymore. And not to be too long-winded with it, but the first turn of the NPFL for that year, I had scope and I had a trolling motor with a spot lock feature, like latest technology. It left me stranded day one. My trolling motor did not work. And it's like, you can't have that. And then the next tournament, I got a different brand of trolling motor, left me stranded again. And I'm like, dude, I'm going back to a Fortrex. Thing works every time. It's dependable. Not the latest technology, but it works every time.
Yeah, well, that's what counts.
So at Hartwell, I was scoping and stuff, like main lake points, bars, all kinds of stuff. And I spent like almost my whole practice doing it. And then, I didn't have a trolling motor the first day, which is like, you can't scope without a trolling motor, just floating around. So I ended up in that tournament, the MPFL, I think I was in like 18th or something like that. And I didn't have a trolling motor for a day. And I went shallow. And there's this pond that I know about. Not to go too detailed about it.
I love this. Yeah, I love it.
And I went in there the last day of the tournament, like with an hour left. And I didn't have time to go in there and practice because of I was scoping so much. And they were everywhere, loaded on the bed, 4 or 5 pounders. I'm like, what did I do? I didn't go in here because I didn't have time because of scope. Like, it's from 18th to like first, like that's a big gap, but like it was probably a top 10 or a top 5 tournament for me. I'm like, this will never happen again. Scope is not going to do this for me. So after that tournament, took off my trolling motor, put it back on a Fortrex, took my scope off and sold it. I'm like, I'm going back to what I was doing before. And like, ever since I've done that, my success has just gone up, just catching them. And it's like, I'm just going to do this all the time. This is super fun. And I catch them. Like, why would I not?
Right. I mean, so your season, this year kind of speaks for itself. So where did you end up Angler of the Year? Excuse me. Where'd you end up Angler of the Year in the Tackle Warehouse Invitationals, and then Rookie of the Year, Angler of the Year? You're right in there, right?
Yeah. Angler of the Year, I finished in 5th. So I qualified for the BPT by 1 point, which is crazy. I mean, it was basically like 2 ounces at St. Lawrence River why I qualified, which is also coincidentally the margin of what I lost at Lake Hartwell, 2 ounces. And then I finished 2nd for Rookie of the Year. So Bang Shaw, he whooped all of us this year. It'll be really exciting to see him evolve as a bass angler because he is really, really good for how old he is.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I think Rookie of the Year, I would have won by like 100 points when I had glanced at it, but Bang Shaw beat me like by 100 points. I mean, it was pretty impressive. So 5th in Angler of the Year and 2nd for Rookie of the Year is where I finished.
Yeah, nice work, dude. No forward-facing sonar. Super, like just you're a really you're an excellent shallow water angler. When you look at the Bass Pro Tour, you got to look at it this way, dude. Obviously I don't know your finances. I don't know, it sounds like your family's supportive. But it's a big decision. You look at it's like 51 anglers, and you would be one of them. That's a pretty cool thing, man. Think about it, and that's, you also got to, this is kind of a gambling game, not kind of, in many ways, this is a gambling game. But that's pretty good. I mean, yeah, they're hammers, granted, but dude, you got to give yourself a lot of credit here, I personally think you can hang. You might have to do some adjustments, maybe not, maybe you would have to do some adjustments. But you look at a guy like Ott, Ott Defoe is one of my favorite anglers. I love him. I think he's just a tremendous talent. His record speaks for itself, but he's just such a nice guy. But that guy is a shallow water dude. I love the way he fishes. There's other guys in there who are the same way. I don't know. I think you should do it, dude. Like, I really think you should do it. I think you should do it. If you can swing it, I think you should do it, dude. I mean, listen, you don't know if you'll be able to qualify again,
Right.
And this could be your, life is short, dude,
Yep.
And then none of us are getting any younger. And the beauty of this sport is that you can do it, at an older age, of course. But you don't know what life is going to throw at you. And it's just like, you can always say that you gave it a shot. You qualified. That's an accomplishment in itself. And then if you're 51 guys. You should already be proud of yourself. Just get in there and see what you can do. I mean, that's kind of where I've been thinking about it. That's where I'm kind of falling on the whole deal, dude.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I think those are all valid points. And to your point about not qualifying again, I mean, that's a realistic possibility. Like, man, I don't know if I can qualify again. It's so hard to do that. And by the skin of my teeth, I qualified this year. And it's, back in, I think it was 2019, I qualified for what was then the FLW Tour, I think is what they called it, through the Toyota Series. I had won Angler of the Year. And it was during like COVID. Like, COVID was happening. I was really nervous about what's going to happen with our business and everything. And I'm like, I'm not going to take the invite. And it's like, here I am again with an invite. I'm like, and it hurt, like, not taking that invite, man. It hurt. And it was like, one of the tournaments was on the Harris chain, which is where I lived then. And the guy that won it, Laramie Strickland, won it in an area that I know very, very intimately. Like, I know it well. And I'm like, man, I really wanted to be in that tournament. So it's like, to say no to this invite again, like, it'll be tough to do. But then also, like, I look at the invitational schedule for next year and, like, man, it's awesome. It's really, really good. If I were to pick 3 bodies of water to fish on for a big tournament, it's Kissimmee, it's Wheeler, and it's the Harris chain. And those 3 places are on that schedule. I'm like, man, that's hard for me to pass up. And I don't want to do both. I don't want to do both.
Yeah.
It's just too much time away from my kids, and I don't want to do that.
I get that. So what do you think of the BBT schedule, 2026?
I like it. There's a couple unknowns for me, places that I don't really know a lot about. But the first tournament is on Gunnersville, and it's mid-January. And the second tournament is on Hartwell, which is mid-February. And it's like, those are the 2. I know those bodies of water really well. I fished on those a lot. And those times of year, that time of year early, it's like, in my opinion, the scope is more powerful early in the year when it's cold and there's a lot of suspended fish. Like, man, those first 2 tournaments might be a slaughter for me. But the rest of the schedule, I think, is good.
Okay, good. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm pushing for you to do it. I mean, obviously, it's kind of, it's apparent now that's. Yeah, I've just been thinking about. I mean, you had asked me what, if I thought that you could hang, and I wanted to give you an honest answer. And at that time I didn't know you as well, and getting to see, obviously you're a legitimate, top level competitor now. You've proven yourself. Yeah, I think you should throw your hat in the ring. Is that the right term? I think you should do it. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's a big decision. But yeah, I think you should do it. I did want to ask you, like, we had talked, just on the side of, like, we've had many conversations in the boat. Just, we love the sport. We care about the sport. We've had pretty opinionated conversations about different aspects of the sport. Now, I basically am surviving off the sport. I have wonderful clients that pay me to show up and film. I can't be, myself. I have to. And overall, I would say quite happy with things, but I do want to get your opinion on kind of the state. I guess what I'm trying to say is I can't be too controversial because I don't want to lose any work. But I guess, where I come from, or where I'm coming from when I state an opinion, is that I just want things to be best for the sport and for everybody involved in the sport, the health of the sport. And ultimately, that means all the companies and all the people that are working for the companies, I want the best for them. Mm-hmm. What is your position? What do you think the health of the competitive bass fishing is right now? What do you think? Just what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's interesting is like tournament bass fishing. Like, I think there's two buckets you could look at it as, like, one from an angler perspective, and then the other is like for the business, for the sponsors. And it's like, from an angler perspective, it's like tournament bass fishing, like, probably doesn't really make any financial sense to do this, but we're so, like, addicted to it and love it. I mean, what other sport can you think of as, like, I've been bass fishing since I was, let's say, 12 years old. I turned 40 in 2 weeks. Like, when I caught some of the fish this year, like on the James River, I had a series, not to get too sidetracked, but, some really big fish catches back to back to back. I've been doing this since I was 12 or whatever the age would be. Like, dude, I couldn't stop shaking. And it's like, that's really special. Like, I'm so thankful to have something like that in my life that gets me so excited that I've been doing for so long. So it's like, man, I love tournament bass fishing. So, from an angler perspective.
Can I just stop for you for a second there? Because that's super important. It's super important. So there's two things that you brought up there. Let's tackle both of those for a second. So the passion that there is in fishing, specifically competitive bass fishing, when you look at how much money is spent, okay, mm-hmm. and the payoff is really not, it's all out of whack. The financials are all out of whack, all out of balance mm-hmm. with how much is spent and how much you can actually earn, okay, for the most part. Now, there are some situations where that's not the case, where guys are doing well. But my point is, more often than not, way more money spent than what's going to be brought in. Mm-hmm. When you look at how much bass boats are, when you look at how much the equipment, and that to me is just, people are super passionate about the sport and they don't care. They just love it so much. And that's why I've felt for a long time that, competitive bass fishing could be mainstream. I don't mm-hmm. know that necessarily anymore, because a buddy of mine has said this, it's like hook and bullet, it's like it's the whole, it's a blood sport, that kind of a thing, and maybe that would never translate into mainstream. It's just a little bit too, what would you say? I don't know, a little too like gory, I guess, for someone like the city folk or something. I don't know. It's frustrating, but it could be a good argument, for it to ever become mainstream. I don't know. All I've felt this way for a long, long time is that there's so much money spent and there's so much passion behind it. I would argue more so than other sports, the amount that is spent to do it, right? To me mm-hmm. is an indicator that of the passion behind it, and that, if you tap into this thing right, that it could be much bigger than it is currently. I've felt that way for a long time. Yeah. Then you bring up the fact that you still shake when you catch a big fish. You're still super excited, like you're a little kid. That to me, dude, is what makes a really fulfilling, wonderful life, that you have something like that in your life that is, you can set goals to it. It fires you up that much that, you're outside. All of these things are so good for your health that I've often said the same thing. It's just like, I feel so thankful to have fishing that it's something that, hell, I'm doing this podcast because I care about fishing, I have something like that moves me forward in life, that gives me direction, that offers me goals to set, that I just get so excited about when, you go out. I think people too, just in general, people need to have challenges, right? And fishing is this wonderful challenge where it's like you're going out. You don't know, like the thing about fishing is you don't know if the fish are going to be out biting, if they're going to be, everybody's like, oh, I want to go out and catch fish. Well, there's no absolutes in fishing. So to have a mission and then to be successful at it is one of the greatest feelings in life. And fishing gives you that. And I feel so thankful to have that in my life. And so, anyway, you just saying that, I think, is super important. So I didn't mean to, I wanted to stop you there because it is so important. But anyway, continue on with what you're saying as far as just, the fishing industry.
I totally agree with everything you said. I think one thing to add on to that, too, is just like the family part of fishing. And it doesn't have to necessarily be tournament bass fishing, just fishing in general. A cool thing about fishing in comparison to, like, let's say, football or baseball or like whatever, like kind of more customary standard sports is like, once your kids get into that, like you're a spectator versus like if I'm fishing, like let's say my son or daughter really continue into fishing, like I'm doing this with them when I'm 70 years old and we're doing it together. Like that's a really special thing. So the family aspect of fishing is really cool. And I think that's one of the reasons why my dad really got me into fishing. So there's that part of it. And then kind of tie back to what we were talking about before is like, bass fishing, the state of it right now or in the future. I think one thing that is really critical to any sport is the sponsorship. And I feel like anglers, and this is just my opinion, like they don't do a very good job of providing a return on investment for sponsors. And I'll give you an example. I have, a business that I had mentioned before. I had an angler come up to me a couple of years back, like, hey, I'd love for you to sponsor me. I'm like, yeah, let's talk about it. And they're like, well, I'm looking for this amount of money. Can you do that? I'm like, well, sure. What's the return on investment? And they're like, well, I don't know. Well, like, I don't know what you guys do. How would we get a return on investment? Like, why would I give you money then? And I think of that like for larger companies in the fishing industry, it's like, are they getting a return on investment? If, a company signs on for a sponsorship with whatever organization, are they making money off that deal? And if they're not, it's not a long-term deal. And having long-term contracts is the whole key, in my opinion, for success within this. Because that's where a lot of the money comes from running the organization, payouts, all the different things that they do. Having camera guys on the boat, which is so critical to have. And it's like that, you have to have good sponsorship relationships with these companies are getting a return on investment. And going on stage, and slightly went on a little rant here, but it's like going on stage and saying, thank you, JK Innovations. Like, dude, no one knows what JK Innovations is. Tell me why they're better than their competition. What is their competition? What do they make? Do they offer a service? Is it a product? Like going on stage and saying thank you is something that you do to your sponsors in private. You don't do it when you have your small window of time when you should be selling their product or service. So a little bit of a rant there, but I can't.
No, that's just the whole point of this podcast is rants.
Yeah. And I don't like have sponsors to like say this kind of stuff, but I just think about it like for my business, if we were sponsoring someone, I want someone to go onto the stage that's well-spoken and tell everyone why we are better than our competition and why they should buy from us. Not to thank me. I don't need that.
Yeah, well, the thing is too, dude, like, first of all, you're wearing a Kistler shirt right now, though. Are you sponsored by Kistler?
No.
I like they got a real good tagline, man. The way fishing should feel. That is good, man. That's a great tagline. Great rods, by the way, too. I'm a fan. But I agree with you. It's, and I was going to say this too. Like, you do a really good job on camera. You do you're eloquent, articulate. Is that kind of the same? Eloquent, you're articulate. You get your point across. You speak well. You describe what's happening. People that watch a fishing tournament, they want to know what's going on in that angler's head, right? So I think you do a real good job with that. If you're sponsored, you gotta plug your sponsors. You don't want to make it crazy, but the sponsor needs to get something out of that sponsorship. Mm-hmm. With that being said, though, what do you feel about jerseys, fishing jerseys?
So I think jerseys are super cheesy. I just kind of don't get it. Like, I get it, you want to like show your sponsors off and stuff, but like, to me, like, if I see a logo, like, I'm not going to like necessarily buy from that company if I see a logo. Like, it's all about the communication, and communication to me is like, you got to do it on social media, YouTube and stuff like that. Why you should buy from this company, but just like a logo and stuff, like on a jersey, like, I don't know. It's not me, man. I just wear like a t-shirt that could like have a company logo on, or it could just be a blank t-shirt and there's nothing on there. Like, I don't get into the jersey stuff. It's just not for me.
No, I think it's I think it's a problem. I think it's a problem for the sport, honestly. And I understand that golf's got a lot more money coming in. I get it. I really do get that. But the optics, the aesthetics of having, just crap all over a competitor's shirt. Bass fishing's been in this thing of like, are we NASCAR? Are we golf? I think we also don't really know if this is a boat racing league. I don't, and with all of the vinyl wraps and the big moat, it's like I really feel like in many respects, bass fishing does not know what it is as a sport. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier about protecting the sport. We got to get a handle on this, and it's going to take some real kind of visionaries, I think, to kind of, but it feels a bit all over the place. And I will say, like, to me, to get to that next level and to make it more mainstream, will it ever get mainstream? I don't know. But to get it more popular or more mainstream, the jerseys with the crap all over it, and now the wraps with it's just like, to me, it's just cheapening the sport. Like in golf, there's just a protection of the sport. You can't even, like, there is no golf carts. No golf carts in professional. You are walking to the hole. It's that kind of thing where I think it cheapens it. I understand why it's done. The sponsors, I guess they feel like to have that logo on the jersey, they're getting something out of it, especially if the angler doesn't talk enough about it, about their sponsor. It's a conundrum. It's not an easy problem to solve, but I do think it is a problem in the sport. I think, and by the way, as far as fast boats and everything, that is a part of the sport. I'm all for fast boats. It's an exciting part of it. I get the rush. I'm all about that, but it needs to. We need to have a better understanding of what we're trying to do here and what this sport is. And and really, ultimately, in my opinion, what this sport is that quest for, it's very innate. I would say it's primitive. It's that quest to figure out how to catch that fish, and that needs to just be just over and over and pounded into how we promote the sport, how we cover the sport. It's like just the weather coming in. How's that going to affect the fish? It's all of those storylines. And I just think that, and I also feel this way about all these graphs. Like, should we really allow 3 graphs at the front, and 15-inch graphs and and I'm like, I feel like it cheapens the sport. I'll be honest with you. I feel it cheapens the sport. Aesthetically, it looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
What is this? Is it just looking at screens now? Fishing. So I don't mean to sound like Randy Blockett, but there's a part of me that I agree with him though. Like you can't. Yeah. The fishing it's more than just freaking 250s on the back of boats going 70 plus miles an hour and logos all over the boat, logos all over the fishermen. We got to get back to like, and as corny as fly fishing can be, fly fishing kind of gets it though with like that, why we get into it in the first place, the whole like just trying to figure that fish out. It's the quest. As humans, that's a very ingrained primitive thing, I think. And I think we need to distill that more in competitive bass fishing. I don't know. What do you think about that? Talking about a
yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you said. I think one thing in addition to that, and what it kind of stands out to me after a tournament this year, I think it was at Pickwick. I had a guy come up to me like around our same age, and he was like, "Man, I like watching you live because you're authentic, you're real." And like I kind of thought about that a lot after the tournament, and it's like I think about like boat wraps and like jerseys and all that kind of stuff, and it's like you go to a boat ramp and it almost comes off across as like you're being superior to the regular fisherman, and I'm like, dude, I'm just a regular fisherman, man. I could roll up to your boat ramp on a Wednesday night tournament and fish tournaments. Like I'm just like everyone else that bass fishes, and it's like all that kind of stuff. It's like I feel like you're almost like giving off the impression that you're superior somehow, and it's like that's not the case, man. It's like we're just all bass fishermen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you got to take the ego out of that and stuff, and it's like I kind of like how that's tied to that.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that about you for sure. And like I said, I understand the financials of it. The sponsors, they need to get their thing out of it with the boat wrap and the. Mm-hmm. But it would take something. I don't know. I just don't like that aspect of competitive bass fishing. How to me, the sport needs to be protected more in that we get to why we fish. Why does someone golf? And I think golf's the closest kind of professional sport to to bass fishing. Mm-hmm. It's like. And I understand, like the guys, they're dressed well. One of the things that's driven me crazy about bass fishing too is like, if we're going to call this a sport, you can't have guys in jeans for crying out loud, man. Like, I'm sorry, but like, we need to. There just needs to be some polishing up of things, and then, but also, it doesn't. The aesthetics of it, it just needs to be cleaned up. We're all over the place with logos, and I don't know that this could ever change. It's kind of a catch-22, I guess, because you need enough money to come in, and if that's kind of just built into the system that you need logos everywhere, or people think that you need logos everywhere, I'm not. It's a tough problem, but I think really for the sport to go to that next level, there needs to be some real kind of changing, a change of thought there with just how the sport looks. And honestly, I don't think, and it goes to these graphs too. I'm all about technology. I think technology is great. It's a great part of the sport, but you also got to protect like. The beauty of fishing isn't just electronics all over, your boat. It's the simplicity. It's like what you're doing, getting back to the basics and still kicking ass, and to just be looking at screens. And I don't know. I think it kind of messes up the whole thing, kind of bastardizes the whole thing, man, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's been, forward-facing Sonar gets a lot of the heat as far as technology. but it's like there's been steps of evolution leading up to this as well. It's like, like for me, one of the biggest things is, sure, scope is a big deal, but it's also the map cards. Like before map cards came out, and I think about it specifically for our next tournament of the championship on lacrosse. Like when I fished in lacrosse when I grew up, there was literally like not a map of the Mississippi River, except like an atlas that showed like the outline of the river. Like there was nothing, no maps, no map cards, no GPSs. And it was like, man, it was wild back then. You'd like find an area. I'm like, dude, I don't even know if I can find, I don't know if I can get back here again. I don't know how to get
right.
And it's like now with map cards, you can see ditches that you can run back there on pad. And you're like, we would run through stuff back then. And we're like, I don't know if you can run this. I have no idea how deep it is. And it was like, so there's other things, technology-wise that impacted tournament bass fishing as well. But scope is definitely getting like the most of the pressure, most of the heat, the last couple of years and everything.
Yeah, no doubt. Was there anything? So, what were you watching as a kid? For me, what happened for me is I grew up reading In Fisherman magazine, watching In Fisherman television. I started out as a multi-species angler. I was just, I've done some In Fisherman shoots here lately, last few years, and it's just been like, I'm kind of pinching myself, I grew up with these guys, and so that was really, I learned how to fish, and then I found In Fisherman, and everything just exploded from there, and then I learned about bass fishing, competitive bass fishing. I got hooked into Bassmasters, and then it was like a whole oh my God, this is what I want to do with my life,
Mm-hmm.
Was it a similar situation with you? Was it with what happened with you?
Yeah, it was In Fisherman. Being from Wisconsin, it's like that was very like Midwest centric, I would say. And like they had the magazine articles, and it's crazy is like I remember specifically reading an article, and I was like maybe like 12 or 13, and it was about flipping for largemouth bass with a Jean LaRue salt crawl with like 30-pound big game. And like I didn't know what flipping was then. I didn't have any idea what that was. And like you take your line and like swing out the bait into like these reeds and stuff. And I'm like, I didn't know you could do that. Like I didn't know fish lived there. Cause like to your earlier point, like we fished for walleye. So we'd be like trolling and jigging and stuff. And it was all like Main Lake focused. And we're like, you can go into those bays and stuff and flip in like this heavy cover. And I remember I bought a rod, or my dad rather bought me a rod. And I got some Jean LaRue salt craws, and we were flipping, trying to figure it out. And I flipped into these reeds, and it's so vivid, which is crazy because it's so long ago. And all the reeds like shook, and it was like dunk, and something bit it. And I'm like, I don't even know what to do. I'm like setting the hook, my line's over here and stuff. And this bass came out. I'm like, dude, I didn't even know fish lived in this kind of stuff. This is epic. So it was like In Fisherman is how it started. But then I was like watching Bassmaster and FLW and stuff, be like on Saturday mornings at like 6 a.m. or whatever. And man, I would just be sitting in front of the TV watching it. So it's really cool to think about that kind of stuff back then. And it's like, I don't know if that's like a deal anymore. Like, do kids wake up to like watch fishing? Like,
I don't know. I was, dude, I was living in California at the time. I have a weird upbringing. As a kid, I had part of my, this is the custody situation my parents had. So I was most of the year living in California, and then the summers and every other Christmas in Minnesota. So I'd be on West Coast time, and to watch fishing shows, I'd get up at 5 a.m. to watch fishing shows. So yeah, I don't know if kids are like getting up, early to watch fishing shows anymore. That's a good point. I have no idea if that's still a thing. But do you think there's like, do you think if there's anything in the past that they're doing, anything was done better back in the day than now, or anything? Do you think, or thoughts on that?
I feel like there was such little information and visibility to like tournament bass fishing stuff back then, like techniques, watching past tournaments and stuff. Like it was so little that like if you interested you, like it was just like a small time frame where you could capture that all information, where now it's like everywhere. I mean, there's 3 tournaments happening on Lake Gunnersville this morning and the Sunday morning. You know what I mean? Like there's a ton of tournaments, and there's a lot of footage and stuff like that. It's like we just had such a small opportunity to watch that. So it was like, man, I just went into it and watched all of it. So yeah, to answer your question, I don't know what could be different, but I do like bass fishing is becoming kind of like a cool thing to do, like
Yeah,
in high school and college. Like I think that's
absolutely.
really neat. I
It
missed
is.
college by 1 year when I went to UW Stout. It was like after I graduated, the next year they had a bass fishing team. I'm like, oh man.
No kidding.
But it probably would have been like the worst thing that would have happened because I've just been fishing even more than what I was.
No, it's for sure. It's been great in that respect. There's been a lot of positives. I would say that for sure. I don't know if it's because of YouTube or just social media in
Mhm.
general, the internet, but yeah, fishing has become cool. I've always thought it's cool. Of course, we both of us have
Mhm.
thought it's cool, but just as far as the general public, I would say it's cool, which is awesome. I'm super excited about that. I think high school fishing, college fishing probably played a big role in that as well with the
Mhm.
internet. But yeah, like YouTube, it's just I could have never predicted the success of YouTube. I think it is bringing more people. All the negatives with social media that people bring up, I think there's quite a bit of positives to it, you know.
Mhm.
And I think it is bringing, in a weird way, it is bringing some more, more youth into to fishing,
Mhm.
and so that's good to see that. But I don't want to keep you for too long. And this is kind of like I said, this is kind of like a last minute thing to get you on here. I had a little bit of a window. I'm like, yeah, man, I need to talk to Dustin, and the fact that he qualified for the Bass Pro Tour is super awesome. But I did want to say, so you obviously, I want to ask you, you love shallow water fishing, of course. Is
Mhm.
there, if you had to boil it down? Now I have I'm going to ask you for your number. Well, I'm going to ask you your number one technique, number one and number two favorite technique. Okay,
Mhm.
and I'm going to see how close we are to each other, because if I had to if I had to, yeah, if I'm trying to think what would, well, yeah, it's almost a toss up between my number one and number two, but I think we're probably similar. But in general, I love fishing shallow water more than going out offshore. So, but yeah, what is number one, number two favorite technique?
Yeah, it's pretty pretty easy to pick that. It's flipping and it's top water. And it's like top water is a pretty big category. So there's a lot of, you could be buzz bait, you could be throwing a devil's horse in Florida. There's a lot of different baits within that, but like those are the two things I love doing. And it's like when I go to a place that I've never been and it's an applicable time of year where it's not too cold, like man, I'm just flipping it on top water and I'm just gonna find where it's going down.
Yeah, so what I would say for me is, yeah, the same thing. Now, I got like this tuft of hair that's driving me. See, I have, like, honestly, I'm OCD and attention deficit. I'm all kinds of neuroses wrapped into this package right here. Anyway, where was I? So the yeah, so I would say same thing as far as technique. Same thing. I'm right there with you. So now I'm going to say lure. You got to boil it down to your top one and two lures. Okay, and I think
Yeah.
we're going to probably be the same.
Yeah, flipping, I'm going to a rage bug with a 3/8 ounce weight and a flipping hook. And then top water, I'm going to a buzz bait that I make over on that side of the wall in my garage over there.
Now we're a
So
little
that's like,
different. Yeah, I'm the same. So what I would say for me is a jig. Like, I mean, let's say a half-ounce jig. I love jig fishing. Goodness gracious, just pitching it into the nastiest stuff. This time of year too, we got high water on the Mississippi River, and these smallmouth getting snags. And you could just you want current moving through that snag. You want current
yeah,
moving through that snag, and you just pitch in the heart of that thing. Donk. They're just like largemouth junkyard dogs, doing the same thing
yeah.
largemouth do. It is. And then I
That
gotta
is
tell, yeah, go ahead.
smallmouth when you can get them flipping. You're like, dude, this is kind of like the best thing ever.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And they are just mean, man. They're as mean as any largemouth. And then, yeah, I love a buzzbait, dude. I mean, almost like it's almost like they're equal, the jig and the buzzbait. The buzzbait is such a wonderful thing, especially you get a squeaky buzzbait that really makes a difference.
Man,
and it covers water so damn well. You could just cover water, but you can slow it down too, and it's just churning, and it's pretty darn weedless, relatively weed. You could go down to a really little buzzbait, and it's super weedless, and it's just a wonderful bait. It's just it catches them and it covers water. That's why I think I've loved, for a number of reasons, just a real likable guy. I was telling my wife last night that I would just be friends with you. Like, if we lived next to each other, I would just be friends with you. Like, we'd go fishing together. I wish we lived closer,
Right.
And we just kind of hit it off, except when I had to crap out of your boat that one time. But other than that, and I'm really, I apologize.
That brings us closer as a friend. When someone poops off your boat, that's like a next tier of friendship.
Yeah, that's a good point. So in hindsight, it was all for the best. So, so I guess let's wrap this up. I don't want to take any more of your time. You've been very gracious. I'm super excited for you, though, dude. I really, really am. You deserve it. You deserve all the success. You work hard. It's funny you're talking about your wife, like she's like an ultra marathoner. So my wife just was like, we're all kind of having midlife crises, and my wife's like, you know what, I'm gonna start running marathons. She runs like 4 marathons in like a year, something stupid like that. I think it was 4 marathons within a year she ran, and now she's thinking about doing ultra marathons. Like, and I'm like, okay, well, it's crazy. Yeah. But yeah, so we even have like similar wives, it sounds like.
We will go fishing at some point. Whether it's up you or whether it's down here in Alabama, we will fish together at some point.
Yeah, and you will absolutely kick my tail. I mean, that goes without saying, but still, it would be a pleasure to do it. But I wish you all the success in the world, dude. I really do. Like I said, you deserve it. I think you should fish the Bass Pro Tour if you have the support of your family. And financially, if you can hack it. Sounds like you got a great job. But I'm super happy for you, dude. You've unlocked the secret of life, my friend. It's really not that complicated, But yeah, thanks for doing the podcast very much, Dustin.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.